Hello, this is Art for All People. It's Lisa.
And Jaylan.
How are you? We have an amazing interview today with
Thea Robertshaw. Pleased to meet you.
Oh, it's great to meet you. So can you tell us about yourself, like who you are?
Who I am took a long time. I immigrated to the United States when I was 18, and I had been through the Second World War as a child in Holland, and I was very wounded, obviously. We were the most bombed city in Holland.
Wow.
And we lived between the Phillips factories and the Air Force Base. We were totally occupied by the Germans, and then we were a target for the British for 5 years.
Wow.
So luckily they were good at their targets, but they missed, occasionally.
And
so it was very frightening.
How old were you?
Between 6 and 12.
Wow.
And then on top of that, my parents had 3 Jews in our house. So I got a lecture before I went to school every morning about not to speak to anybody, that we would all die if I did. Wow. So there was a lot of fear instilled.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was just realizing, because one of the paintings I did, I'm in front of this glass cupboard with 2 dolls, and actually paintings in back of you, we'll get it later. And I wasn't allowed to play with my books or my dolls, and the cabinet was locked. And then I realized later that these things would disappear one by one, that my mother was trading them for food. And of course I couldn't forgive her. Never mind food,
Wow.
So, but I had a severe case of malnutrition, We even had a dentist at school to save the kids' teeth. And they had also taken over our schoolhouse, so school was in somebody's house. And there was no paper or pencil. I never got to draw.
Oh, my.
And so I didn't know if I could or not. Maybe that was good. Because once I picked up that pencil,
When was that?
It just all came up. So anyway, but I was a musician at the time. As a matter of fact, my piano teacher was hidden in our house. She had taught at the Berlin Conservatory. She was a musical genius, and she's the only one that was taken to Auschwitz, put in a gas chamber. So that was a very difficult wounding to get over. So when I finally painted her out of my head, I realized that I had never dared to cry. Everything was so dangerous. So while I was painting it for days, I cried. So some of the paintings I've done, some of them I would say maybe catharsis, but most of them are very healing.
And also
But
lots of
for me,
release.
healing is a process. It doesn't just happen. It's a long process. And sometimes we don't even realize when the healing starts to occur, when it starts to happen. But I feel people are very lucky when they're in the arts, because it's such a great form of expression. And I was a musician first, and then much later, I was almost a senior in music school when I changed to the visual arts, which was very good for me, because I could work with those archetypes that I needed to work with.
When did you pick up the first pencil? You said as a child.
Oh, actually, I was probably around 15, 16.
Then you started drawing?
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit, but it never was a problem. If I wanted to draw something, I would just do it.
And then so you were a musician, and then you went to the visual arts. So how old you were in your early 20s?
Well, musician all the way through till my early 30s.
Okay.
At that time, I was in my early 20s. I was working my husband through architectural school, and that was hard, because there was things that artists don't like to do, being a waitress, a cook, a dishwasher, you name it. But I would check out books in the library, and all my time alone, which was a lot during that time, I would just learn certain things, certain techniques out of books, especially watercolor at that time.
So you're kind of self-taught.
No, I went all the way after music
Yeah.
school. I went to art school at Long Beach State, and that was really wonderful for me to just totally devote myself.
So
art.
you came to US when in your
When
20s?
I was 18.
18.
Yeah, I had to learn the language, and then the biggest trauma happened. Culture shock.
Yeah? Tell us about
Just
that.
horrid. I thought I was gonna die the first couple of years.
Wow.
Because
Here.
I played in an orchestra in Holland. I had artist friends.
Mm.
I mean, there still wasn't much food and things like that, but it was a rich life on other levels. So I come here into the desert, and it was a desert on all levels.
Where
In
did
Long-
Lancaster, California.
Okay.
I remember Walter Cronkite saying on the radio, Lancaster was the #1 boom town in America.
Wow. So what made you come to America? Was
Actually, my sister was 16 years older than me, and she had married an American, and he was
Wow.
willing to sponsor my mother and I.
oh, okay.
That's how
So it was very hard on my mother because she never learned the language. She was hard of hearing, and she had this beautiful garden in Holland, and you couldn't have that in the desert.
My gosh.
But you had to leave.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, my mother wouldn't have gone, but my father was dying, and he was more adventurous. He wanted to see places, go places. So we had to promise him that we would go to America after he died. So that was an important promise that my mother kept.
Wow.
And I thought it would be great until I got to Lancaster, California.
Oh my gosh, wow. So take us back to when art became catharsis, because you said the piano teacher that you lost. When,
Right. No, I never set out to know that art was healing. I just had a strong urge to paint, to express myself. Even when I was in music, I loved it. So I love all the arts. So when it becomes cathartic, maybe when I was painting my piano teacher, but I already had 9 years of life drawing, a lot of art background.